Abandoned in a small town, the shocking twist that changed everything. You won't believe this. In the heart of a desolate town, where the wind howled like a ghost and every creak of the empty buildings sang tales of despair, something strange lurked in the shadows. The yellowed streetlights flickered ominously as they cast long, eerie shadows that danced along the crumbling sidewalks. Rumor had it that this place, once vibrant, had been abandoned overnight literally. No goodbyes, no packing up, just empty streets and a chilling silence that weighed heavily in the air. The townsfolk vanished, leaving behind unkempt gardens, half-eaten meals, and personal belongings, all telling the stories of lives interrupted. As dusk settled, a boy named Jake stepped into this forgotten world, curiosity igniting a fire in his gut. What had happened here? He could feel the air thick with secrets, wrapping around him like an invisible blanket. Each breath he took tasted stale, filled with the remnants of something sinister. He noticed a faded flyer fluttering in the wind, a picture of a smiling family with the caption missing. His heart raced, it was surreal. How could a family disappear without a trace? His instincts kicked in as he found himself captivated by this chilling mystery. As Jake wandered deeper into the town, he stumbled upon an old pharmacy, its glass windows cracked and its door hanging ajar. The buzz of a fly echoed through the empty aisles, making him jump. The aroma of dust and something far less pleasant filled his lungs. Suddenly, he spotted something shiny poking out from under an overturned shelf. He reached for it, fingers trembling in anticipation, pulling out a rusted locket. Inside, a faded picture of a girl his age stared back at him, her eyes filled with a mix of innocence and a haunting sadness. Before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. With the locket in hand, Jake's mind raced. What did it mean? Who was she? As he turned, a rustling sound made him freeze. Was he truly alone? A chill shot down his spine, leaving him breathless. Shadows danced toward him as the wind picked up, and with every gust, secrets whispered in his ear. The answers were out there, buried deep in the town's dark history. He felt the weight of 1,000 eyes, unseen but ever watchful. Driven by an uncertain pull, Jake knew he couldn't turn back now. Just as he took a step forward, a scream sliced through the air, echoing off the barren walls. Time seemed to stop. Was it his imagination, or was there someone else in this ghostly shell of a town? The sharp sound shattered the silence, awakening the dread that festered in his heart. Who or what had he stirred? Every instinct screamed at him to run, yet his feet remained rooted. The truth was out there, lurking just beyond the edge of his perception. And he couldn't help but wonder, was he brave enough to uncover it? Jake stood frozen, his heart pounding like a drum echoing in the empty night. The scream had come from somewhere nearby, breaking the thick silence like glass underfoot. He swallowed hard, battling the instinct to flee. Every muscle in his body screamed at him to turn and run, but curiosity held him captive. "Hello?" he called out, his voice a weak tremor against the looming darkness. The echo of his own voice swallowed him whole, mingling with the chilling winds. No response. Just the rustle of leaves and the distant whisper of the past lingering in the air. Time seemed to stretch as he took a cautious step forward, the locket clutched tightly in his shaking hand. He felt drawn toward the sound, an invisible thread pulling him deeper into the shadows. Each step was a quiet gamble, as if the ground itself could crumble beneath him at any moment. The scream pierced again, this time sharper, more desperate. It resonated through the air, awakening a primal fear within him. "Who's there?" he shouted this time, the mixture of fear and determination igniting a flicker of bravery. And then he saw her. In the dim light of the crumbling pharmacy, a figure emerged, half hidden behind the shattered remains of a display case. Hair disheveled and eyes wide with terror, it was a girl not much older than Jake. She looked lost, wild, and utterly terrified. "Help me!" she gasped, voice trembling, as she stumbled forward, the desperation pulling her closer to him. "You have to get out of here. It's not safe." "Wait!" Jake shouted, stepping toward her. "Who are you? What's going on?" But she didn't answer. Instead, her eyes darted around, scanning the darkness, each rustle of the wind seeming to set her on edge. "They're coming, you don't understand," she pleaded, breathing heavily, desperately trying to catch her breath. "Who's coming?" Panic knotted in Jake's chest. He could feel the tension in the air shift, like the calm before a storm, laced with dread. "They took everyone," her voice broke, eyes brimming with unshed tears. "I was hiding, and now they're hunting." The weight of her words sank into Jake's bones. Instinctively, he reached for her. "We need to go. We can find somewhere safe." The girl's face paled even more, and she shook her head violently. "No. There's nowhere to hide. It already knows you're here." A shiver ran down his spine as a creaking sound resonated behind him, a door slowly swinging open in the wind, its hinges moaning eerily. Almost on cue, chilling laughter erupted from the blackness beyond the pharmacy, a cruel sound that clawed at the edges of sanity. The girl gasped, stumbling back, the terror in her eyes prompting Jake to act. "We have to leave. Now." He could feel his heart racing in his chest, each beat echoing like a drum. He motioned for her to follow him, but the terror that gripped her held her rooted in place. "Jake!" she hissed urgently, her voice nearly breaking. "It's too late." And just like that, the ground beneath them shifted. A low rumble rippled through the town, almost like a warning. The shadows deepened, dark figures forming just beyond the broken threshold of the pharmacy, creeping closer. Jake's breath caught in his throat. The darkness was alive, and whatever hunted the town was finally revealing itself. The girl turned to him, pulling him one last time toward the exit, her grip tightening around his wrist. "We don't have much time. We have to run." As they broke into the night, the cold breath of fear followed them, taunting their escape. What were they running from? And would they ever discover the truth before it consumed them both? With a surge of adrenaline, they sprinted toward the flickering lamplight in the distance, but the shadows were closing in behind them. Something dark was coming. In that moment, Jake realized the most terrifying question of all: what if the answers they sought were far worse than the haunting unknown? The lamp flickered wildly, casting an erratic glow on the path. Jake's lungs burned as he and the girl dashed toward the uncertain light. The laughter from the shadows twisted in the wind, sending a jagged chill through Jake's spine. Each echo felt like razor wire, reminding him that safety was an illusion. "Why is it after us?" Jake panted, glancing over his shoulder, half expecting to see a ghastly figure creeping in pursuit. But the darkness remained stubbornly opaque, hiding whatever horrors lay within. "They want us for something," she replied breathlessly, her eyes wide and frantic. "Something they've taken from everyone else." Jake could feel the weight of her words, the heaviness of lost lives, lost dreams. The urgency enveloped him like the darkness around them. "We just need to find help. There must be someone else out here," he insisted. "Help?" She laughed bitterly, desperation twisting her features. "You don't get it. They don't leave anyone alive who sees them." A sudden crash of branch snapping took his attention, interrupting the frantic rhythm of their escape. Fear pulled in his belly. They were not alone. "Keep running!" Jake shouted, adrenaline pushing him forward. The lamplight pulsed like a dying heartbeat ahead, a beacon of hope that felt increasingly out of reach. Despite his urgency, his mind raced with questions. What had she seen? What did they want? A quick glance at her face told him she was fighting her own demons. He had to know. "What did you see?" he pushed. "Why are they hunting you?" For a moment, it seemed she might answer. A flicker of resolve crossed her features, but it was gone as quickly as it appeared. "It doesn't matter. Just keep running." she screamed, pulling him along. Without warning, the ground beneath them shook violently. They stumbled, momentarily losing their footing as the earth groaned, protesting their frenzy. Jake's instinct screamed at him to get away from this cursed ground, but the girl pulled him back upright. They continued to sprint, but the laughter emerged again, closer, clearer now. It sounded almost human, mocking them. Shadows flickered at the edge of the lamplight, writhing like a dance of malevolent spirits. Suddenly, the girl stopped, eyes riveted on something moving ahead, adding to the flickering disaster. "This way," she urged, yanking him toward a narrow alley. With no time to hesitate, Jake followed her. The alley smelled of decay, the air thick with the odor of long-forgotten hope. It felt claustrophobic, closing in on him as he turned to glance back into the street. The shadows seemed to ripple, shifting and shifting, drawing in tighter. As they ducked into the alley, a splintering crash echoed behind them. Jake turned sharply, and a chilling sight paralyzed him. Dark figures emerged from the depths of the shadows, with glints in their eyes that caught the burst of lamplight, revealing not hunters but something altogether more sinister. "Jake!" the girl shrieked, pulling at him again. "We can't stay here." Moving forward felt like wading through molasses. His feet grew heavy as fear pooled in his chest. "What are they?" he gasped out, panic spilling from his mouth. "They're what's left of those who didn't escape. They're us," she cried, tearing at his grip on her wrist, the horror wrapping itself around her words. Jake felt his world tilt. "No, no. This can't run." And as if the darkness answered her desperate plea, the figure surged. A heavy weight of dread settled over Jake, urgency nearly paralyzing him. This was it. This was the moment the truth twisted into something he could barely comprehend. With a surge of movement, they took off again. This time, purpose clawed at them with each stride. But behind them, the shadows were relentless, and Jake realized that sometimes, the truth is merely another shadow lurking in the dark. As they sprinted for their lives, a shuddering thought clawed its way into Jake's mind: if they made it out alive, what would they become? The alley narrowed, disappearing into a void of darkness just ahead. Would they find salvation, or would the shadow swallow them whole? One thing was certain: whatever awaited in the dark would demand answers, and Jake was terrified to learn the truth lurking in the depths. The alley opened into a wider street, nearly deserted, bathed in the flickering glow from a dying street lamp. The girl's grip on Jake's wrist was like a lifeline. He felt every beat of his heart thrumming in his chest, each pulse hot with fear, driving them forward. "Where do we go?" Jake gasped, panting as they stumbled into the street, disoriented. Shadows danced like phantoms alongside them, whispering promises of despair. "There's an old church at the end of this road. You can hide there," she urged, but doubt crept into Jake's mind. Would it really be safer? Hadn't she just said the shadows didn't let anyone escape? Each breath tasted like dread, turning his stomach. Just as he was about to respond, a low growl emanated from the alley behind them, rumbling like thunder. Jake's instinct kicked in, and he pulled the girl close, urgency fueling his every movement. "Don't look back," he yelled, and they tore down the street, their footfalls echoing in the empty night. The church loomed ahead, an ancient structure with ivy creeping up its crumbling walls, the heavy doors seemingly beckoning them closer with each stride. As they neared it, a deafening crash erupted behind them. The shadows released a chorus of ghastly laughter, escalating to a fever pitch. Jake dared a quick glance back. Dark forms poured into the street, undulating like smoke, eyes glowing with an otherworldly hunger. "Faster!" the girl screamed, pulling him as they approached the church's doors, which hung ajar like an open maw inviting them into the unknown. They stumbled inside just as the shadows erupted through the entrance, a mass of swirling darkness colliding against an unseen barrier. A loud, echoing thud shook the walls, followed by an eerie stillness that wrapped around Jake and the girl, a tension frozen in time. The inside of the church felt like a different world. Dust particles floated in the dim air, illuminated by the moonlight breaking through stained glass windows, casting fractured rainbows on the floor. The pews were long abandoned, and prayer candles flickered with an unnatural light. "What now?" Jake whispered, the weight of the shadows still pressing around them. She glanced toward the altar, her eyes narrowing, as if there was a deeper truth waiting for them. We have to confront them, face whatever they've taken from us, she breathed, trembling with fear. Jake's throat constricted. You want to face them? He asked, a mix of disbelief and hopelessness flooding his voice. Why would we do that? Because her voice quivered, revealing a raw intensity. If we don't know what we're up against, we can't fight back. They need something from us. It's why they hunt us. Before he could process her words, a cold wind swept through the church, extinguishing the flickering candles. Darkness flooded in as shadows swirled up the walls, crawling toward them like hungry wolves. Heart racing, Jake felt desperation clawing at his chest. If they can't take us without knowing who we are, he began, realization dawning upon him. Then we have to remember. But suddenly, a shadow lunged forward, blending into a cold, amorphous shape. Jake backed away, yanking the girl behind him, panic blooming in his chest. The figure shifted, its voice a hollow echo. You can't escape what you've chosen to forget. Jake's heart raced. What did I forget? He shouted. But there was no answer, just the swirling void pressing in, louder than their heartbeats. The girl stepped forward, her eyes fierce. We'll remember together. Whatever it takes. As she pushed past Jake, a chilling wave of certainty surged through him. What if confronting these shadows could return what had been taken from them? Or would it simply plunge them deeper into the abyss? The shadows loomed closer, eyes flickering dangerously. And then Jake realized with shock he had a choice to make, but would he dare confront the darkness of his own making? The thunderous growl erupted again, and a voice amidst the shadows whispered, all you've lost will be found, but at what cost? In that moment, adrenaline surged through Jake like a firestorm. They had to know the truth, no matter how terrifying. As they stepped deeper into the flickering darkness, a new fear nestled in his heart. What awaited them could change everything. What answers lay hidden within those shadows? And would they be able to bear the weight of the truth? The shadows writhed and twisted, their forms coalescing into figures that seemed both familiar and alien. Jake's heart pounded painfully in his chest, each beat echoing with dread. He could feel the girl's eyes on him, her trust pinned on their fragile bond as they faced the dark specters. Remember, she urged, her voice tremulous yet resolute. We have to dig deeper. They won't reveal themselves until we do. Jake tried to focus, shoving his panic down, even as the shadows clawed at his mind, whispering secrets he couldn't quite grasp. The church seemed to pulse around him, the flickering light from the few remaining candles casting strange patterns on the walls. What do I need to remember? His voice felt small, swallowed by the gloom. The lead shadow, more defined than the rest, stepped forward, its eyes glowing a haunting hue of violet. You think you can hide from the truth? All you've abandoned lies within. The voice was a chilling breeze, and it stirred something deep within Jake. What does that even mean? He spat, frustration mixing with fear. I don't even know what I've lost. With a sudden gust, the shadows circled them tighter, closing in, forcing Jake to confront their dark presence. A raw emotion welled up inside him, a mix of hope and despair. He glanced sideways at the girl, whose resolved expression anchored him. They were in this together. Think. She urged. Think about everything you tried to forget, your fears, your mistakes. That's what they feed on. Jake clenched his fists, every nerve in his body lit up like a live wire. Everything I tried to forget, the guilt, the pain. Suddenly, flashes of memories flooded his mind, faces he wished he could erase, moments that had left scars deeper than he cared to admit. A childhood friend's laugh, twisted by tragedy, a decision forged in anger leading to an irrevocable loss. No. I can't. He shouted, anger surging. I won't let you take me back there. A fierce wind howled through the church, but the girl grabbed his arm, her grip unyielding. We can only find our way out if we face it. We have to confront the shadows of our past, Jake. It's the only way they'll let us go. As she spoke, the shadows pushed forward, feeding off Jake's turmoil. Panic ignited in him. I don't want to. He screamed, but the realization struck him hard. What they feared most was the only path to salvation. With a deep breath, Jake closed his eyes, letting the memories wash over him. The weight of regret bore down like a suffocating blanket, but right alongside it, a glimmer of resolve sparked. He was ready to confront the pain, no matter how unbearable. I do remember, he whispered, feeling the shadows recoil slightly at his admission. The lead shadow hissed, its shape both less defined and more menacing now. You think mere recollection will save you? I know it will, Jake replied, voice stronger. I won't let you haunt me anymore. The shadows writhed restlessly, but in his heart, Jake felt a shift. He sensed the girl beside him, strength radiating from her presence. Together, she encouraged softly, squeezing his hand tightly. We're not alone. A hush fell over the church, a tense pause as the shadows gathered one last time. The air felt charged, Jake could almost taste the dark magic swirling around them. Would they retreat, or would he have to fight for their escape? Then, with piercing clarity, the shadows advanced, and Jake's heart stuttered once more. What if facing this darkness could mean something more? He thought. An unearthly crack echoed, shattering the silent tension. The price for truth is steep, the shadows warned, pressing closer, their voices growing louder, drowning out everything else. Then let us pay it. Jake shouted defiantly, ready to plunge into whatever darkness awaited them. Before he could fully grasp what was happening, the ground beneath them gave way, and Jake felt an overwhelming pull as they were swept into the depths of the shadows. Would they find redemption or be completely consumed by what they uncovered? The uncertainty pinched fiercely as they descended, leaving Jake breathless and gripped with fear. What lay deeper in that obsidian abyss? And would they return, or would they become part of the very darkness they once tried to escape? The descent into the shadows was unlike anything Jake had ever experienced. Gravity seemed to bend around them, twisting the very fabric of reality. He felt a heavy pressure, as if the depths themselves were a living entity, pulling him down into their cold embrace. The darkness swallowed them whole, and for a moment, there was only silence, deafening and complete. Then an unsettling whirring sound started to fill the void, like gears grinding slowly against rust. It echoed through the abyss, each pulse of noise reverberating through Jake's bones, a painful reminder of his own heartbeat. Suddenly, flashes of light sparked in the darkness, illuminating ghostly images around him. People he recognized, faces of friends, family, enemies, each one ghostly and blurred, as if viewed through a dirty window. The girl's hands slipped from his as they were pulled apart by a swirling current. No! Jake cried, reaching out, but she vanished into the void, like smoke dissipating in the air. Panic twisted in his gut. Where are you? He couldn't see her, and that fear set his heart racing. The shadows shifted, forming shapes that morphed from one moment to the next. He heard the faint echoes of laughter, then screams, heartbreak mingling with joy. It knocked the breath from his lungs. You have to remember, the lead shadow's voice slithered through the darkness, every joy and every sorrow binds you here. They're all part of the truth. Jake felt the weight of their words pressing him down, pulling him deeper into memories he had long tried to forget. He could see his childhood friend again, the one who had been lost in that terrible accident. We could be saved you, his own voice chastised him, a whisper of guilt that scraped against his soul. A chill crept up his spine, and the shadows celebrated his anguish, swirling around him like a tempest. What if I told you she's not the only one who suffered because of you? The lead shadow taunted, its eyes aflame with malice. What other ghosts hide in the corners of your mind? Jake trembled, his breaths quickening. Each memory the shadows uncovered dug painfully into his heart. The strained faces of family members, disappointment and disapproval etched into every wrinkle. The unfulfilled promises, the words left unsaid. He was drowning in a sea of failures and fears, each wave more overwhelming than the last. No. I won't be your puppet anymore. He shouted, anger rising like bile in his throat. I refuse to let you control me with my past. In response, the shadows cackled, their laughter a cacophony of torment. They circled him tighter. But the past is what makes you, you. Face it, embrace it, and perhaps you'll find what you seek, the power to break free. With a sudden clarity, Jake felt a shift in the air, a spark of defiance igniting within him. I'm more than my past. I'm not just the mistakes I've made. His words felt like a battering ram against the wall of shadows. Then prove it, the lead shadow hissed, and for the first time, it moved aside, revealing a door shrouded in mist. On the other side, glimmers of light peeked through, beckoning him with promises of hope and redemption. Is this the way out? Could confronting his darkest memories lead him to freedom? Heart racing, he staggered toward the door, ready to push through whatever lay beyond. But the shadows clawed at him, their whispers a chaotic symphony of doubt and despair. Are you really ready to unveil what is hidden? Jake paused, uncertainty creeping back in like a thief in the night. Was he truly prepared for what he might discover? The door loomed before him, the glimmers of light growing brighter. As he stepped forward, he could only hope that what awaited him on the other side was worth the battle, but what if the truth he found was more terrifying than the shadows themselves? What if freedom meant facing something he wasn't ready to accept? Jake's hand trembled as he reached for the misty doorknob. It felt cold, almost alive, vibrating with an energy all its own. The whispers intensified, a whirlwind of doubt that tugged at him like a fraying rope. He hesitated, the question hanging heavy in the air. Was he truly ready to face what lay behind that door? The images of his past clamored for attention, a barrage of memories that threatened to drown him. He could hear their voices clearly now, piercing through the noise and chaos that engulfed him. What if you fail again? One memory hissed. You never learned your lesson, another opined, sharp and accusatory. Shut up. Jake screamed, clenching his teeth as he shook off the doubts. He could feel the weight of the shadows pushing against him, their presence oppressive and suffocating. But he was done playing their game, he was more than his regrets. Taking a deep breath, he twisted the knob and pushed open the door. Light burst forth, blinding him momentarily. He shielded his eyes and stepped through, anticipation mingling with fear. As his vision adjusted, he found himself in a brightly lit room, filled with shimmering particles that floated like fireflies in the air. But it wasn't the fairy tale scene he had hoped for. Instead, it felt eerily vacant, like a forgotten space trapped in time. In the center stood a pedestal, upon which rested a small glass box. Inside was a swirling vortex of colors, reds, blues, greens crisscrossing and merging into a tumultuous blend. It seemed to pulse with life, resonating with a heartbeat that echoed within the silence. This was his choice, the culmination of his journey thus far. Touch it, said a disembodied voice, smooth and seductive. This is the key to your freedom. The essence of your past awaits, you must confront it to break the chains binding you. Jake stepped closer, apprehension tightening his chest. Was it really that simple? Just reach out and free himself? But what if his past was too dark, the memories too painful? What if this vortex held the truths he had long buried, things he wasn't ready to confront? A bead of sweat dripped from his brow as he weighed his options, every heartbeat pounding through the tense silence. Suddenly, the air shifted. A loud crack echoed through the room, the box trembled, and the colors swirled faster. Choose now, or be forever trapped in your own creation, the voice warned, its tone chilling. Fear coursed through Jake. He glanced over his shoulder, half expecting the shadows to close in again, but they remained at bay, watching. Perhaps they were waiting for him to decide, waiting to see if he was truly brave enough to change his fate. His heart raced as he reached a trembling hand toward the box. What was inside? Redemption? Truth? Or something worse, something that would shatter the fragile hope he had kindled? Bounding emotions roared within him. This is your moment, he told himself. Do it. As his fingers brushed against the surface of the box, the colors burst into a spectacular explosion, illuminating everything around him. For a split second, he felt euphoria wash over him, though it was quickly replaced by a chilling clarity. Everything went silent. Jake's breath hitched as he closed his eyes, surrendering to the inevitable. What awaited him on the other side? Suddenly, a flicker of memories flashed behind his eyelids, laughter, betrayal, a face he hadn't seen in years. Remember, the shadows murmured as Jake plunged into the vortex, ready to confront whatever truths lay hidden in the chaos. But when the dust settled, would he emerge victorious, or would he drown in the darkness that so eagerly sought to reclaim him? As he spiraled deeper, the real question lingered: was the truth worth the risk if it could destroy everything he believed in? The moment Jake's fingers made contact with the box, reality splintered around him. It wasn't just a burst of colors that surged through him, it was as if a dam had broken, releasing a tide of memories that crashed over him like a storm. He felt weightless, adrift in a sea of emotions. Faces he thought he'd forgotten rushed forward: friends, family, moments of joy mixed grotesquely with sorrow. Each flicker drew him into its story, each heartbeat echoing louder in his ears. The laughter of his younger sister twisted into the heart-wrenching sobs of regret. He wanted to scream. "Face it!" the disembodied voice thundered, reverberating within the chaos. "This is your reckoning." The swirling colors turned into images unfolding like a film, each revelation more shocking than the last. Jake winced as he saw himself as a child, wide-eyed and innocent, unaware of the darkness that would claim his family. A shadow loomed over his parents, a figure he recognized but wished he could forget, his father's best friend, the man who promised to protect him but instead wielded betrayal like a weapon. In that moment, the room transformed into a familiar place, a small town forgotten by time. Echoes of laughter from children playing in the streets were replaced with whispers of scandal and shame. "You can only outrun your past for so long," the voice taunted. "This is where it all began. Will you confront him?" Jake's heart raced as he drifted toward an old, dilapidated house, the windows like hollow eyes peering into his soul. Memory surged, a tide of warmth overshadowed by a chill that settled in the pit of his stomach. This was the house he once loved and now feared. "Go inside," the voice urged, tantalizingly close. "Face the monster." He hesitated, consumed by the truth of his childhood, a moment when he lost not just his family but also himself. The front door stood ajar, a portal to his past. Gingerly, he stepped inside, the hinges creaking like the whispers that had once tormented him. Dust motes danced in the faded light, and every inch of the room felt heavy with memories, each corner harboring a secret he'd buried deep. Suddenly, footsteps echoed behind him. Jake spun around, adrenaline surging through his veins. The air thickened, electric with tension. Who was there? Was it a shadow come to claim him, or was it something far worse, a ghost of his past refusing to let go? Jake, a voice called out, softer now, almost familiar. His heart clenched. It was her. His sister, long lost in the river of time along with innocence. He hadn't thought this place would dredge up her spirit. But could he really trust this apparition? "I'm here," he managed to whisper, though it felt more like a plea than a statement. "I thought I lost you. It's time to let go," she said, the tone both mournful and insistent. "You can't rewrite the past, but you can reclaim yourself. You have to confront him. He's the key." A tremor rippled through the room, and Jake felt the ground shift beneath him. The walls began to close in, pressing him into a tighter space, a reminder that he couldn't escape his fate. "But what if I fail?" he cried out, desperation clawing at his throat. "You only fail if you don't try." She reached out, her hand passing through the air, beckoning him forward, guiding him toward the room where he had learned the deepest lesson of betrayal. As realization struck him, Jake understood this was more than just a passage into the past. This was the moment he had spent years avoiding. But lurking behind the walls, waiting for the moment of reckoning, was that darker truth, that hidden revelation. He took a step forward, not knowing if the shadows would ultimately consume him or if he could harness the light within. The silence echoed, the air crackling with anticipation as he braced himself for the confrontation. Would he find redemption or devastation? With a voice trembling but resolute, Jake whispered the question that hung heavy on his heart: "What if I have to confront not just him, but everything I thought I knew?" And at that moment, he stepped into the heart of darkness, ready to reveal what lay hidden. Jake's heart thundered in his chest as he crossed the threshold into the room. Dust clung to the air, swirling like phantom memories seeking shelter. The wooden floor creaked beneath his hesitant steps, echoing like a warning. He froze, the weight of the room pressing down on him. In the dim light, the contours of the room flickered like old film stills a child's bed against the wall, its sheets rumpled and yellowed with neglect. A small desk, cluttered with forgotten toys, loomed as a reminder of innocence shattered. He wanted to turn away, to escape the suffocating nostalgia, but the voice in his head pushed him forward. You can't hide. Not anymore. The silence weighed heavily, broken only by the creaking wood and the whisper of memories long past. And then, he saw a figure, shrouded in half-light, sat in the corner, cloaked in shadows. Rage and fear coursed through him like molten lava. He recognized that silhouette. It was the very man who had shattered his world, the monster cloaked in the guise of a friend. Jake, the figure crooned, his voice oily and seductive, I knew you'd come back. Stay away from me. Jake spat, bitter anger lacing his words. He took a step back, but the walls felt closer, as if they were conspiring to keep him imprisoned. The figure leaned forward, revealing a face twisted with smirking malice. Did you really think you could escape? You're tied to me, bound by the choices your family made and the secrets they kept. Every word felt like a fist striking him in the gut, knocking the air from his lungs. Anguish twisted in his chest, memory swirling like a tempest. The betrayal, the trust broken, left raw scars on his heart. Your sister. The figure's voice dropped to a conspiratorial whisper, spreading like poison. She always was my favorite. Such sweet innocence. But now she's just another ghost haunting these halls. A scream clawed its way up Jake's throat. You don't get to bring her into this. He could hear her laughter in his mind, the way her face would light up with joy. Now, all that remained was that aching void. Why do you think you can face what you buried? The man sneered. You'll never be free of me. This town, this house, it's where your truth lies. There was a cruel glint in his eyes, a dark satisfaction in Jake's turmoil. Enough! Jake shouted, adrenaline surging through him. The rage felt empowering, a flicker of hope alighting his bitter darkness. I refuse to let you control me any longer. He took a deep breath, each inhale steeling his resolve. You think you hold all the cards, but I know the truth now. I know what you did. He met the man's gaze, a flash of courage igniting. Suddenly, the room trembled, and a whirlwind of memories erupted around him. Faces of forgotten friends, his sister's laughter, moments of warmth and joy, each memory blazed into existence, clashing violently with the darkness that had tried to shroud him. The man recoiled, shadows writhing around him like angry serpents. No. You can't, but the memory storm swelled, drowning out his desperate protests. Jake pressed forward, resolute. I wasn't just a victim. I am the master of my fate now. And just like that, with a blinding flash, the room erupted with light. The man's scream faded into oblivion as Jake felt himself pulled into the magnificence of his childhood, clinging to the fragments of hope that remained. But even as the brightness enveloped him, Jake felt an echo of unease. What if this isn't the end? The wicked laughter of his past still echoed in his mind, an ominous reminder that confrontation wasn't merely about casting away the darkness, it was about getting the truth out, no matter the cost. As the light surged, a new presence pulsed within him, a darkness lurking still, whispering promises of power. Jake braced himself, aware that he stood at a precipice. Would he embrace this new strength, even if it meant risking the unthinkable? The air crackled as he faced the looming possibility set before him. What have I awakened? He wondered, heart racing, knowing that the real challenge was just beginning. The blinding light began to fade, and the warmth rushed over Jake like a comforting embrace. With a gasp, he stumbled out of the vortex and back into reality. The church stood before him, unchanged yet somehow different, as if the air had thinned and the shadows were retreating. He looked around, heart pounding with a mix of relief and fear. They had done it. They had faced the darkness together. But where was she? The girl who had fought alongside him, was she here? Jake. A voice called out from behind him, piercing through the haze. It was the girl, her eyes wide with relief, and she rushed forward, pulling him into a tight hug. You're back. I thought I lost you. I thought so too, he whispered, still gasping for breath. They pulled apart, eyes searching each other's faces. You did it. You conquered it. We really faced our past, she said, disbelief lacing her voice. Jake nodded, but unease filled his chest. But what if it isn't over? He asked, memories still shimmering in the corners of his mind, whispers of shadows lingering like thick fog. She studied him, concern creeping into her eyes. You're different, she said, glancing around the dimly lit church as the memories of dread and sadness danced behind their gaze. Did you see it? I faced the monster, but it feels like it left something behind, Jake admitted, pulling away from her. The darkness, it taught me something. There's more to uncover. He walked toward the altar again, each step bearing the gravity of his past. I think there are others who need to face their shadows too, people who are still trapped like we were. The girl joined him, determination flickering across her face. Together, we can find them. We can help them remember. A soft glow emanated from the now calm church as Jake took in the moment, the memory swirling around them as if sensing the shift in their spirits. We're stronger together. We can't let others stay lost, he said, igniting a flame of hope within them. They deserve to find their way back, like we did. With a spark of resolve ignited in both their hearts, they stepped outside into the surface of the night. The air seemed to breathe a sigh of relief, the shadows melted away, leaving the streets illuminated by the glaring glow of the moon. There had been a price to pay, but there was also a purpose. They would venture through the abandoned town, searching for lingering hope amid the remnants of despair. As they walked, hand in hand into the unknown, Jake turned to the girl. What's your name? I'm Clara, she offered, her smile warm against the cooler night air. And you're Jake, right? Remember, we're not alone anymore. No, we're not, he replied, a sense of comfort filling him. Together, we can break this cycle. The shadows may have taunted them, and the darkness might have pulled at them, but through it all, they had found hope. The girl's hand felt like a lifeline, a promise that this wouldn't be the end. It was just the beginning of something greater. As dawn broke on the horizon, they stepped forward, ready to confront whatever lay ahead. They would shine the light on the darkness that had claimed so many. And far from forgotten, each ghost that haunted this town would tell their story, reclaiming their brightness and navigating toward the light together. So here's where it ends, but your journey doesn't have to stop here. You need to subscribe now so you don't miss what comes next. This is the moment to show your support. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and keep our story alive. And please, flood the comments with your reactions, theories, and thoughts about what you just experienced. What did Jake and Clara learn? What awaits them on their next adventure? Don't wait even one more second. Share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Spread the word, ignite the conversation. Let's keep this community growing.